What do pugs and square roots have in common?
Can you just tell me what you want? If you had some way of telling me what you wanted, then maybe I could help. What is it you want?
I'm not bad. I'm just drawn that way.
Now this is going to go kind of quick, so you might want to jot down things that are confusing to you, and then at the end, you can read about those things in the video description. I know you might have seen me around school, but I don't think you really know who I am. You think I'm an operation, but I'm more of a number than just an operation. I'm not something that needs to just be done. Some people call me a radical. Some people say I'm imaginary, and sometimes I'm just real. But no matter what, I'm just a number. And I have a value. Just like all numbers, I have a value. You see, me, when I look like this, I live right here between 1.4 and 1.5. Turns out I live really, really close to 1.41, 4, 2, 1, 3, 5, 6, 2, 3, and so on and so on. I'm irrational. Sometimes, though, I'm in disguise. I look irrational, but I'm not. I'm really rational. Thing you got to know about me, though, I have a troubled past. I'm always struggling with self-doubt. Who am I? What am I made of? In order to answer that, I have to figure out what number squared equals my radicand. So for example, me, square root of 24. What number times itself is 24? To figure that out, I need to factor 24 and look for the biggest perfect square. Well, 24 is 4 times 6, so the square root of 24 is the square root of 4 times the square root of 6. There are other factors like 3, 8, and 2 and 12, but those aren't perfect squares. They don't really help. You see, this helps because the square root of 4 is 2. So I am 2 times the square root of 6. I'm just like you. I'm just like a person. Some ways I'm complicated, in some ways I'm simple. You see, when I go to a party, I want to hang out with my friends, just like you guys do. You know, jocks hang out with jocks, nerds with nerds, and band geeks, they hang out with, well, other band geeks. So like the square root of 3, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 of us. There's 6 square roots of 3 at this party, and the square root of 7. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 of us. What about these two, though? What about these loners? Who are they? Where do they fit? Let's take a look at the square root of 28 first. Now, 28 is 4 times 7, so the square root of 28 is the square root of 4 times the square root of 7, and the square root of 4 is just 2. So actually, this is a pair of square roots of 7 just hanging out together. So there's actually 2 more of us right there. 1, 2 more. That makes 7 square roots of 7. The square root of 48. Well, if you look at the factors of 48, the biggest perfect square that's a factor is 16. We could use 4 and 12. 4 is a perfect square, but 16 is bigger. That makes life easier. Square root of 16 is 4, so there's actually 4 more square roots of 3 hanging out right here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 more. That's 10. That's 10 square root of 6. Now multiplication is just repeated addition. You see? That's 3 5s and 6 5s. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 5. So 3 times 5 plus 6 times 5 is 9 times 5, not 9 times 10. Seems obvious, right? But what if we're talking about us square roots? You guys, well, you're not very nice to us. You don't treat us right. You see, we work exactly the same because we're just numbers. You see, 3 times the square root of 5 plus 6 times the square root of 5. Well, that's just 9 times the square root of 5, not 9 times the square root of 10. That's not fair. It hurts our feelings when you get us wrong. When you don't understand who we are, it makes us sad. So like 3 times the square root of 5 plus 9 times the square root of 5, well, that's 9 times the square root of 5, not the square root of 45. You see, I live close to 20.124, and the square root of 45 lives close to 6.708. You guys get us all mixed up, and it really upsets us. Look, I'm not 5. I'm the square root of 5. I'm the number times itself that equals 5. That's who I am. 5 lives here. I live here. That's where I live. Just past 2. This number, the square root of 9 times the square root of 5. Different than this because I'm not the square root of 9. and I am not 9. Now, what if we're different? Like 5 and 7 aren't the same, so you can't add them together. That seems really obvious, right? But yet, when you're dealing with us, you add us together like that all the time, and it really makes us sad. Now, you remember that whole disguise thing? Sometimes you end up with a group of us like that, and, well, we like to hang out with people that are the same. So it turns out, right here, this guy, he's in disguise. We need to take a look at him and see if we can make it a little simpler. So the square root of 20, well, that's the square root of 4 times the square root of 5, but there's 5 of them. So that's 5 I have to multiply by 2 times 5, which gives me 10 times the square root of 5. So 5 root 20 is the same as 10 times the square root of 5. Now I can just add them up. 10 plus 2 is 12, minus 1 more is 11. See, there's 1 right here. And then, of course, the 4 is being added there at the end. And that's 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Not the square root of 4. Just because we're close together doesn't mean you can put us together. We're different. We're different, he and I. You can't just throw us together like that. Now here's where I am most feared and misunderstood. With fractions. Who am I really? This is asking, well, what times itself is 1/4? I think it's probably 1/2, but I don't know. Who am I? Turns out I'm the same as this, but I'm not the same as this. You see? 2 of us are 1/2 and 1 of us is 1/4. See? We are 1/2. Because 1 times 1 is 1, and 2 times 2 is 4. But this is just the square root of 1, and this is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the square root of 4. We are not the same. Please don't mix us up. It hurts our feelings. We're not all the same. Sometimes we are all the same. Like all 3 of us here on the page are the same. These 2 are the same, and the square root of 25 is 5. You see, we are all buddies. We're all the same. And sometimes this happens. Square root of 8 divided by the square root of 4, well, that's the same thing as the square root of 8/4. Well, 8 divided by 4 is just 2, so that's the square root of 2. And sometimes it works this way, though. Sometimes it's 4/8. Well, that reduces to 1/2. The square root of 1, though, is just 1. The square root of 2, well, I'm irrational, remember? Can't write me out, so you just leave me like that. Thing you might not know about us, though, we get bullied by rational numbers. That's right, you see, they say we cannot exist in the denominator if we're irrational. So what we have to do, we have to multiply ourselves by something. You see, the square root of 2 times the square root of 2, well, that's the square root of 4. The square root of 4 is 2. The square root of 2 times 1 is the square root of 2. And this, well, something divided by itself is just 1, so these 2 things are equal because I multiplied this one by 1. No big deal. So you see, I'm just like you. In some ways, I'm simple, in some ways I'm complicated, but the more you know me, the easier it is to get along with me. And remember, math, it's kind of like dating. You gotta take your time. If you rush in, you're gonna make a mistake and get your feelings hurt, and you're gonna look stupid, and your friends are all gonna say, well, I told you so. So whatever is still confusing, now's a good time to explore those things further. Just read the video's description for some helpful links, and go to the beardedmathman.com for, well, more information on square roots and other topics. A lot of great help there for parents and students and teachers alike. And you could help make these kinds of videos possible by visiting patreon.com/thebeardedmathman. This has been a public service announcement from me, the Bearded Mathman. Thank you for watching.